goal of this video is to show you how to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex of a parabola when the quadratic function is written in standard form. The standard form of a quadratic equation is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. It's important to note the a is next to the x squared, the b is next to the x, and the c is alone by itself. Sometimes at the end, sometimes not. You just have to be careful. The c is by itself. So when you look at a parabola, there's two different ways that a parabola can appear. The first one is opening down, and the second way is opening up. We'll learn how to distinguish whether it's opening down or opening up later. But an axis of symmetry, symmetry means that you can fold something in half, cut it in half with two mirror images of each other. So if I draw a line right here, that cuts my parabola exactly in half. This side of the parabola is the mirror image of that side. This is called the axis of symmetry, and again, it's a line. It's actually an x equals line. This one also has an axis of symmetry, also a vertical line, going right down the middle. Again, that's called axis of symmetry because this right side is a mirror image of the left side. And we'll work more with that when we're graphing later. Again, this is an x equals line. When given an equation in this format right here, standard form, your axis of symmetry, you find it by doing the opposite of b divided by 2 times a. Again, x equals the opposite of b divided by 2 times a. So I said there was 2 points this video. The first is to find the axis of symmetry. The second is to distinguish where the vertex is. The vertex is either the very top of your graph or the very bottom of your graph. Now if you notice where I put my where I put a dot for my vertex, it's at the very top here, it's at the very bottom here. It's a maximum, it's a minimum. If you notice, it's on the axis of symmetry. And we're going to actually use our number we get for the axis of symmetry to find our vertex. So let's try. I'm given the equation here, y equals 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. First thing you have to do is label your a, b, and c so you can plug them in our equation. My a is the number next to x squared, which is the 2. My b is the number next to x. Be careful, that's actually a negative 8. And my c is the number alone, which is 6. To find the axis of symmetry, I go x equals the opposite of b over 2 times a. Now you have to do the opposite of b. b is negative 8. The opposite of negative 8 is positive 8. I divide that by 2 times a. My a value is 2. 8 divided by 2 times 2 is 4. That's going to be 2. Now my axis of symmetry is the line x equals 2. Now I said we're going to use our axis of symmetry to find our vertex. If I rewrite this equation down here, I know my x value is 2 for my vertex, so I'm going to plug in my 2, substitute my 2, wherever I see an x. And when I solve that, y equals negative 2. So that means my vertex, again, is a point. It's a point on a graph, so it's going to have an x value and a y value. My x value we found was 2, and my y value I found was negative 2. That's my vertex. In the next graph, y equals x squared minus x minus 12. First, again, we find our a, b, and c. Our a value is the number next to x squared. We don't have one, so it's 1. Our b value is our number next to the x, which is going to be negative 1. And our c value is the value alone, the constant, negative 12. Axis of symmetry, x equals the opposite of b divided by 2 times a. My b is negative 1. Now keep in mind, if my b was positive, it would turn to a negative number. But in both of these cases, we've had negative numbers, which means they're going to turn into positive numbers when you take the opposite. So negative 1 turns to positive 1. 2 times my a value, which is 1. 1 divided by 2 times 1 is 2. So that number is 1/2. But in order to plug it in the equation, when we do that, we're going to change that to 0.5. My axis of symmetry is x equals 0.5. What I need to do is use that x value back in here to find my vertex. So when I rewrite my equation, y equals x squared minus x minus 12, again I'm going to plug or substitute my 0.5 wherever I see an x. It's important to use parentheses, especially when you have negative numbers. So again, there's two x's. I'm going to plug in my 0.5 twice. And when you calculate that, it ends up as negative 12.25. Again, in order to get a vertex, you need an x value and a y value. So when I write my vertex, it is 0.5, comma, negative 12.25.